Hello, hello. I had a dream in the summertime about a writer from the United States, a young man in his 20s who was living in Utah in a rural community, in farmland community, and he had some kind of farmhouse, and it was at the end of a cul-de-sac, and the street that led to his property was just a meadow, was a grass road. And I was running down that grass road, and I didn't know where I was. I just wanted to help an animal. And it was interesting that the last property on this road in the cul-de-sac property, that did not have a fence. So I was walking into that property, and this rider comes out, and he said, "What are you doing on my property?" And I said, I don't even know where I am. I just need help. I need someone to help me with the animal. He just didn't hear what I was saying. He just felt threatened. He just felt stepped on. But here he didn't even have a fence. He didn't even have a gate. It was not stacked up, the boundaries. So very symbolic. I step into his property not knowing where the boundaries are because he didn't stack up his boundaries. Okay, so how can I know where the boundaries are? And sometimes in Utah and in Arizona, people actually shoot people who step over into their properties even though they didn't even stack up the boundaries. So they don't have boundaries, but then when someone steps over the line of their boundary, not knowing that they did step over the boundary, they get shot. And so this was very symbolic for also for the conversations I had with this person later on, and also kind of like before that I talked to him briefly. I asked him something, and I felt only there was only coldness and an energy of animosity actually towards his own fans. And it's very heavy on my chest, the way that feels. But I know that, and it's what Thich Nhat Hanh said in his books, when someone is behaving in a very unapproachable and in a very unkind way and unloving way, there's a reason for it, and that person is definitely suffering. So I tried to help him. I tried to point this out to him, but he did not take very kindly to it, to my advice, and he became very hostile. So instead of looking at it, he cannot, because he doesn't allow himself to look at the problems. So he became very hostile and just lashed out with words. In the dream, there was an actual threat. It was very threatening for me, this dream, because I thought he was going to get a gun out and shoot me. And I said, I just want to continue running, and instead of the road, the road was continuing through his property. But at the end of the property, he had it fenced off. So he put a barbed wire fence on it so that I could not run through the property. I'd be like caught in the property, just like he trapped his own mind. He set himself a trap. And so the only way I could escape from that property was I had to go back out from where I came from, and I had to run out of his property and run back. That entire stretch was like a mile long, entire stretch of grass road with that animal who I wanted to rescue. Nobody helped me. I don't even know if I was able to rescue the animal or what happened in the end. I just woke up at some point during that dream. and the feeling was this heaviness, was heavy on my chest, this person who has entrapped himself into this Christian belief, and trying to build this defense mechanism so that he doesn't have to look at this trap that he's living in. And he doesn't have boundaries, but he has a trap for himself. It's like a trap for himself and also trying to trap other people. That's how it comes across in that dream. And it's very heavy. And so when I talked to him, it was that same energy. It's like I'm a very bubbly type of person who's very altruistic, and people like this guy, they see that as a threat to them because it comes across as a threat to their egos. So everyone who is rather rigid and emotionally, I don't see him that rigid intellectually, because I think that he does recognize that there are other religions and beliefs that have validity. But the way he wraps this into his life is more like excuses and denial that wraps up his festering wound, instead of opening it up, this emotional festering wound, instead of opening this up and letting air on it, and putting true love on it, not just a rigid philosophy that comes maybe from another religion that may be true but is kind of like distant itself. That is not going to heal that wound, and you know what heals the wound. What heals the wound is that unconditional love that Mother Earth is offering us, but you will not do it psychologically. And that I find that very heavy, and I feel such a strong need to point that out, because I think you're running away from your problems. You're running away further and further and further into your own trap by doing what you're doing. By being hostile and rigid and defending that very belief system that has installed so much fear into you when you were a child. You just pack it further and further in with debris because you don't want to look at the issue. You don't want to see that it is a problem. You have to take all these layers off. I'm not going to mention names or who that person is. Take all the layers off, man. And when a fan comes up to you and says that they love your book and your stories and all of this, then you will be able to see that person for who she or he really is, for that innocent living being who just wants to express her or his love towards you, gratitude. So take that gratitude and encounter it with your own gratitude, with your own humbleness and love, unconditional love, instead of being suspicious and hostile and cold and short. So this is also an appeal to all people who are famous, of course, and it applies to all famous people who are cold and short towards their fans. I mean, if it wasn't for the fans who buy the books or the videos, the movies, or the music, you guys would not have the fame and the bank account you have. It is because of people like myself who are fans, who are giving you that acknowledgement and that royalty and the money. So it is fair to approach a fan with gratitude, humbleness, and love, true love. I'm not talking about getting into a relationship with someone. That's the farthest from my mind. I'm talking about respect and love and just a few kind words. That there could be 5 kind words to say. Thank you so much for your kind words. That's all. That's all basically. Those are kind words in response. Or I appreciate that you like my book. That means a lot to me. Something like this. But you cannot do it when you are suspicious and rigid, and when you see a threat in that person who is bubbly and altruistic and maybe going overboard with her praise. What does she want from me? Who's that person? And when a fan has a different worldview that she or he likes to express, maybe, this is the internet. We want to express ourselves. We want to exchange. If we want to move and grow, we have to have the opportunity to express our thoughts and our objections sometimes. I do it, I try to do it in the most respectful way I can possibly do it. And I have been very respectful to you. But I only encounter this, my words only reach your ego, not your inner child. The inner child is completely covered over with that Christian belief system, and then instead of removing that belief system, you have to clutter it up with more and more and more dogmatizations and excuses and denial. And that is what this property is all representing, is this with the fence at the end of the property. It is, you're fencing yourself in. And I see that as a great risk and danger for yourself, for your health. It wouldn't matter how pure the water is that you try to research with so much accuracy, and so much, my goodness, doctorate works that go into it, and into finding out which type of water we put into our bodies, and where to find this extraordinary water. And I'm not mocking you, I find that just a little bit amusing. I'm not laughing about you. It's just that all this, how can we find this water? But then you eat meat. See, it's all these things that come together. I have a lot of intuition. I sense things, but I also just plain and simply intellectual clues that give it away. That you are totally not balanced within yourself. You want to find pure water, but you eat animal corpses. You eat suffering. How is that going to possibly make you a healthy person? There is no way, okay? And all of this rigidness and this denial and the suspiciousness and all of this, that is not making someone healthy. It is the love, the infinite, abundant love. It is bubbly. Not everyone is bubbly like myself, but maybe a little bit more towards that, if we can practice this, if people can practice this, more friendliness, more inclusiveness, more just more warmth, being warmer towards another, having more compassion towards the other, seeing the other as a living, feeling, breathing being, who has needs, who also would like love, or who also would like to hear something nice, instead of a hostility, instead of being treated like a cop, instead of treating people like your cop, when maybe you're treating me like I am some kind of cop. I don't know. I just feel terrible suspiciousness, and there are a lot of people who maybe it's good to have a boundary with, but I'm certainly the wrong tree to bark up at. So when it comes to friendliness and caring, because I care about all living beings equally much, and I am not coming onto this property as in the dream. I'm not coming onto this property to spy on you or to elicit something or to preach my worldview. I came onto this property only for one reason, that is to help. Only for one reason, that is to help the animal, and in the process free all of us, all of our minds. So you guys take care. Take care.